Alright guys, welcome to my introductions of all 6 teams that made it through the Open qualifiers into NA Challengers. Today I'm going to be talking about the team that I think is the best right now, Breakthru. So yeah, let's get right into it. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it would be much appreciated, and let's get back into the video. Alright, we're going to start off with telling you a little about who Breakthru is. They're a free agent team that has the leftover Ghost players, being a Proto and Brock, that didn't go to M80, another team that got invited to Challengers. They made it through the qualifiers by beating teams like Or and the Nation and Team Wreckaroo and whatnot. One thing that really stood out to me was their discipline. Unlike some of these other open qualifier teams, they're taking a lot of better peaks, putting themselves in good positions to win rounds. I mean, obviously some of their trading isn't perfect, considering they're a new team and everything, but I think that can be worked on and be good by the time the group stage starts. I think it's a group stage by the time that starts. This team is also extremely skilled with players like Brock and Flya, where they can pretty much hang with any team in Ascension right now, not just in NA Challengers, so I think they can go pretty far. And now under their map pool, they only dropped 2 maps during the whole open qualifier, and they never lost a best of 3. Ascent does seem like their home map, the map that they enjoy playing the most. They went 6-0 on it, 4 of those games against relatively decent competition. Obviously, they went 13-10 against the Nation and 16-14 against Or, which that game they ultra trolled on the attack. They kept hitting it like 1 minute left, so it was just like a 5-man hit, out B man, out A man. But I think they cleaned a lot of that up against the Nation, and it wasn't perfect, but I think they can continue to clean that up. So yeah, I think their Ascent will be pretty good, especially with Brock playing the way he does on that map. And then Haven, they also went undefeated on 3-0. I only watched them against the Nation, but I thought their comp was a little bit weird with the Sova instead of the Fade, but I think they had a lot of nice ideas with like comboing the Breach gun with the Sova and whatnot. And that's where Sim looked the most comfortable, so I think that's another good map for them. Pearl also seemed decent, going 3-1. They did play a fairly different comp with the Breach Cypher Fade than other teams. I couldn't find any other VODs, but they did 13-0 Wreckaroo, who's a decent team, but then lost it to Cosmic Divide, so I don't really know. This kind of looks like their defense side is pretty good, and their attack is kind of weird, so I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the comp on that map. But one weak spot that I thought they had was Fracture, where they get 13-1 by the Nation. Their attacking side definitely feels like the main problem. They got to start on defense against Or, and obviously they started on attack against the Nation and went 1-11 on that. So I think they just kept getting like flanked during post plants or traded out by like 3 people pushing something. So I think they can be better, but I think this might be a weak spot, especially considering that we have 2 new maps coming in during the group stage, and they really don't like playing Icebox, which also worries me considering the 2 maps coming in as well. I mean, they didn't play it once. They banned it, I think. Perma banned it. Let's see. No, they didn't ban it against Nation. Interesting. They didn't play it at all, though, so we don't know what it'll be like for them. But yeah, I think their map pool looks pretty decent. It doesn't look amazing, but obviously you'd expect that for a new team. Alright, and I'm going to talk about each of the players. First up, we have the Recon Initiator for the team, arguably their best player, Brock, who I was so impressed by. I mean, we'll start off with the crazy stat. He won 70% of his 1v1s, which is insane. And that was backed up by the eye test. I mean, he was just absurdly clutch. Um, his Sova on Ascent was the thing that mainly impressed me. Getting so many like Odin kills through walls and shit like that. A lot of damage with the shock darts. A lot of, I mean, just straight up reveals with his dart. Um, and honestly, he played like this last Open qualifier in stage 2 of last year. So I think this is replicable for him, and we'll just have to see. And I think if he does keep this performance up and they don't make it through Ascension, I think he should absolutely be considered for franchise teams. And next up we have Sim, the duelist player for them. Uh, he looked very solid, nothing crazy at the moment. There's definitely potential there with him, but I don't think he's right now at the level of like the Corys of the world and whatnot. And specifically in Ascension, obviously he's not a franchise level player. But yeah, there's definitely potential there. I mean, he looked a lot more comfortable on the Rays on Haven, as I said, which could be important with like a jet heavy meta and whatnot. But I think if he keeps developing, if they sign to an org, maybe even get some more coaching staff behind this team, I think they will be very, very, very good. Or Sim will be very, very good. Sorry. Yeah, obviously, the team will be very, very good. But I think Sim will be very adequate and can lead this team to Ascension. Next up is Flya, who's more the flash initiator for the team, coming from FaZe, a very individually skilled player on his own right. I really enjoyed watching him. I always have. I mean, he's far from like an elite player or even like franchise caliber or anything like that, but he's still very, very, very good for this team. I think he's probably their second best player. Um, and he's extremely flexible. And I think his KO was probably the standout agent for me. His flashes were just awesome overall, and I think he feels a lot more comfortable on that agent than some of the other agents like Breach that he played. And now we have a Proto who's back playing Sentinel, and therefore playing the agent he's most known for, Cypher, which I think is good for him individually, but I think is kind of a concern considering how good Killjoy is at the moment. Obviously, if Killjoy gets nerfed, then I think that's a perfect spot for him, perfect meta for him. I just think that could be a limiting factor for this team if he can't play Killjoy. And now their fifth and final player, who is their smokes player, Thief, who I've been very high on in the past when he was playing Duelist. I mean, there were just games where he just completely took over, was destroying everybody. But I think his smokes are okay. I mean, he's obviously played Sentinel in the past too. He's just played a lot of things. But obviously, you can still see the talent with him. I just don't think this is his best role. But I think he's probably the best one they could have gotten. And also, he's a Protoss former teammate, I think. Oh, I know he's a Protoss former teammate. He might be someone else. I don't know if anyone else on this team was former LG, but I think he rounds out a very, very stacked roster in terms of a tier 2 team. Alright, so that's it for the video. Something that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is that I'll be doing the same kind of video for every team that'll make it out of the open qualifiers and the challengers. So the 4 teams that already made it, and then the 2 that will make it out of the LCQ. I think it's this weekend, maybe. I don't know when it ends, but yeah, that should be fun. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.